This is the Weekly Squeeze, and I'm your talented and lovely host, Chanale Music, coming at you from the beautiful land of Israel. Welcome to our gorgeous set. Thank you to all the feedback, everyone who left a comment on YouTube. Thank you so much to my entire family who was cheering me on in the comments. Keep listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm not going anywhere. This is my regular podcast, the one I've been delivering for 209 episodes thus far. The only thing is now you can see what color jacket I'm wearing on YouTube. So yeah, click on the links no matter how you listen. We had such a good time last night. And it's chaval. It's chaval that you don't live here because maybe you too could be at an IDF party like I was, but you didn't make Aliyah. And you didn't have the experience of being at a gorgeous backyard party with 60 really, really enthusiastic, hardworking, and well-deserving soldiers who came out to have a good time and to get into the pool and to have a falafel with their friends and just chill, listen to music, and have a farbrengen, which, by the way, we hooked up to. We literally had a farbrengen, Lubavitch style, at the party, but I will tell you more about that later, one thing at a time. It was a hot night. I was sweating like Candace Owens in a Jewish history class. That's right. I was sweating like a Muslim at the DNC convention's gender-neutral prayer room. That's a thing. My daughter told me. She's like, Ma, do you know there's a gender-neutral prayer room at the DNC party? I'm having, it's not clicking for me. It's just not clicking for me. You know, some things just will never make sense. I was sweating like Kamala Harris being asked a policy question. That's right. I am still funny, even though I am on YouTube, or especially now that I'm on YouTube. But I'll tell you more about that later. First, let's get to our sponsor. Are you an American who supports Israel? Well, if that's the case, we need you, and the clock is ticking. We need you to become a delegate for one Jewish state founded by former Ambassador David Friedman. So if you support Israel and its right to exist and have complete sovereignty over its land and its borders, head over to One Jewish State and join us today. One Jewish State. We're looking for delegates. The clock is ticking. Join us. So let's get back to the IDF party last night. Let me tell you something. It is not easy to pull off these parties. It is quite a challenge to deal with Israeli caterers and DJs and hosts who are going on vacation and coordinate a battalion of soldiers to get themselves over to the party at a certain time so they can enjoy all the fun stuff that we've prepared for them. But we pulled it off. And last night, of course, I'm always nervous. Like, what is it going to come together? Are the guys going to come on time? Is the pool going to be the right size? Who knows? You know, you never know with this country. You just never can assume. So we all get there in one piece, thankfully. We come to this beautiful location, this sprawling home in the Beverly Hills of Tel Aviv, essentially, one of the nicer neighborhoods here in Israel. And I come in and I meet the most warm and inviting and loving people that you could ever know. And they were like, come on in, make yourselves comfortable, get into the pool and enjoy our home like it's yours. And that's what we told the soldiers. We're like, welcome guys, take a load off, eat as much food as you want, swim as long as you want, like just enjoy the backyard because it's been really tough for these guys. And they expressed it over and over. Like they kept saying like, wow, Chana, thank you so much for this. This is so amazing. I'm like, and we forgot the fruit. And you know, we didn't even bring a DJ, but they were just so grateful. And it was so uplifting to see, first of all, Israeli soldiers, the Israeli young people, the Israeli youth. They're remarkable people. And I've seen it firsthand. I'm seeing it firsthand. And they have good values and they're respectful. And I haven't seen any circumstances, any instances where a soldier misbehaved or did something that I thought was inappropriate at a party. They're all bending over backwards how they can help, how they schlepped the garbage bags out last night. They were just so gracious and polite and thoughtful. And I was just so proud. And I was like, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I'm hustling and asking you guys all the time to donate to our barbecue fund. That's what we need. We need cold, hard cash so we can entertain our guys and get them a caterer and get them a DJ and some alcohol, some beer, just so they can make a l'chaim. And boy, did we make a l'chaim. So what happens? I'm looking for a caterer. So the caterer that made the previous two parties, he's out of town. By the way, in the last 2 summers, the last 2 weeks of summer here in August, the place closes down. People are on vacation. It's before the school year, and there's just like no one's available. So I'm looking for a caterer, and I find a guy, Menachem the caterer. I save his phone number. The profile picture's the Rebbe. I'm like, I like him already. I call him up. I'm like, listen, Menachem, I have 60 guys. We're coming to a party in Savyon. I need someone to set up the mangalim. He says, I'm your guy. Beseder, what's the date? I'm going to be there. Okay, I said, do me a favor. Write everything down on an invoice and send it to me yesterday so I can get you paid. Beseder, no problem. I'm going to do it. I don't hear from him for 48 hours. And I'm like, my stomach's in knots. Is he going to come through? Is he going to bring the food? I send him an itemized list. Do me a favor, Menachem, put this on an invoice so I know that we're going to have steak and chicken and alcohol and beer and fruit and cake and the whole spiel. And then we'll work out, let me know how much it's going to cost and we're going to make a party. No problem. I don't hear from him for 48 hours, okay? The party's tomorrow. Menachem messages me in the morning. Hey, I can't bring alcohol to the party. I'm like, what do you mean you can't bring alcohol to the party? I literally asked you specifically for alcohol. He says, I do a lot of parties for the Chayalim on the army bases, and it just doesn't sit right for me to that's not really what I do. I bring food. I said, I know, but you could have told me that a week ago. Listen, maybe I can get a couple of bottles of beer. I said, do me a favor, Menachem. So I have to call my partners. Crisis. We don't have alcohol. It's a challenge. You can't just walk into a store and pay cash. I have to work through our Amutah, our nonprofit website hosting platform that allows you guys to send money to Israel and allows us to pay the vendors. So I'm like, I need to pay the wine store like straight up. I need to send them from our Amutah straight to the liquor store so I can buy a ton of alcohol and bring it to the party. So we're figuring out, I go to the alcohol store. I'm like, listen, we're doing it for Chayalim. And right away, they're like, oh, anything for Chayalim. I'm like, what do you need? I'm like, tequila, arak, vodka, and the whiskey. And they're telling me, oh, the Chayalim, like this beer, that beer. I'm so excited. He prints out the invoice. He had to print it out 3 times till we put all the details on it. I called my partners. I'm like, the alcohol has been secured. I get into the car. I'm like putting all this beer and all these bottles into my car. We drive to Savyon, and it was totally worth it because the Menachem turned out to be the coolest guy ever. He rolls in totally. First of all, he sends his team. He sends his brother and his nephews and his friends. They're all busy grilling. I'm like, where's Menachem? He rolls in an hour late, totally chilled. I'm like, wow, the guy's a bacher. He's just a young guy. Turns out he has 11 kids. He has 11 kids. Had he told me he had 11 kids, I wouldn't have called him every 5 minutes. He has 11 kids. He came there totally relaxed. So the guys get into the pool. And the music's playing, and he comes over and he's like, listen, Giveret, I want to say a few words. Like, I want to inspire the Chayalim. That's why I do this. I want to have a few minutes with the guys. Okay, beseder, I stand up. I say thank you to everyone for being here today. And I express to the Chayalim how much you guys appreciate them and that you sent money from America and from all over the world to host this party for them and to show them that you care and you're thinking about them and you love them. So anyway, Menachem takes the floor and he shares this incredible story where he's from Kiryat Malachi. Kiryat Malachi, yeah. Kiryat Malachi or Kiryat Gat? Kiryat Malachi. There's a Lubavitch neighborhood there. And he was shot. He was shot by a terrorist. The guy was walking down the street and he was driving down the street and Menachem was driving. Now remember, Menachem was driving and a terrorist shot into his car, put him in the hospital for weeks, had a bullet in his head. He still has a bullet in his brain. And he's telling the story to the Chayalim and he's explaining to them that when you have that near-death experience and you recognize what we're fighting for here as Yehudim, as Jews, as Israelis, as human beings, as citizens, as regular fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers just trying to live a good life, all of that suddenly it becomes very, very real when it's about to be taken away from you. And he had this second this new experience spiritually where now he's fully committed to going to IDF bases to share inspiration with the Chayalim. He brought 3 pairs of tefillin and he said a Dvar Torah and he walked around and he spoke to the soldiers and it was so heartwarming. And I was like, turns out Menachem is awesome after all. And even though he didn't bring me, the chicken wings I asked for, just kidding. He did bring the chicken wings. I was like, you better bring chicken. He's like, I don't bring chicken. I'm like, I need chicken. He's like, the Chaylim don't need chicken. I'm like, I'm the host. I need chicken. So he brought like literally a package of chicken wings for me. So yeah, we had a great team of people last night coming together, and the hosts were just generous. And let me tell you, if you're not making Aliyah because you're like, I can't afford to leave my beautiful fancy life here, if you could afford it, okay, come to Israel, because you can live so beautifully and still be able to drive to the Kotel or drive to Tel Aviv or go up north. And you can live in a big, beautiful home with a sprawling backyard and a 3-month-old golden retriever puppy like this family had. The soldiers were going nuts for the puppy, nuts. I'll post some footage from the party and you'll see just, you know what? I'll post some footage now because we can do that. It's 2024.
למי שמדבר בלי קשר, חושב מחוץ אל הקופסה וגם מעבר, אמת מקי יורק עד הקבר, לא מתערבב, לא משחק במשחקים, לא קונה אלף חיוכים, עסוק בעצמי, לא תובע בצרכים של נחשים שמנסים למשוך בחוטים, בבילן בזיין, עכבר מול עין, בחיפוש אחר האושר, לא מחפש להיות המעליין, בום שקלק, קפה שרוך חזק, עם הנט שכי שחור במשחק, צ'ולו הסדק, סול משאיר אבק, מרימים את הראש, צופים למרחק, אני יודע שהכל יהיה בסדר, לא משנה מה כולם מדברים.
It was great. It was such a fun night. So you could live the dream, make Aliyah and raise your kids in a beautiful home and make parties for soldiers. So don't hesitate. It's a good life. This week's episode of the Weekly Squeeze has been brought to you by Queen Tulsi. Queen Tulsi is a natural herbal supplement, it says right here, for daily stress relief. Brought to you by Caroline Bass Health, who made this custom blend of, I'll read it to you, organic ashwagandha plus Tulsi with mood balancing herbs. Now, if you're thinking, oh, come on, herbs can't change my mood. Well, they can, because Caroline's been selling Queen Tulsi for years now, and her customers love it. And one of her customers is my mother-in-law. I gave it to her for her birthday. She takes it every single night. If there's someone in your life who just needs a little something to help them chill, well, Queen Tulsi is going to help that. Okay, it's going to take away inflammation. Your skin's going to look better. It's made out of natural herbs. It's 100% kosher. It's vegan, non-GMO. There's nothing artificial in it. Queen Tulsi. This is a great way to get some natural healing energy into your life. Everyone who uses it swears by it. You can go on Caroline's website, www.carolinebasshealth.com, and get yourself an order. Use promo code QueenChanale for 15% off of your Queen Tulsi. Let's talk about Candace Owens, our new favorite anti-Semite. I am honestly not thrilled that the second studio episode of my show has to be dedicated to her nonsense, but unfortunately it does, because Candace Owens wants everyone to talk about Candace Owens. So we're going to give her what she wants, and we're going to talk about Candace Owens. So Candace Owens, and if you don't know who she is, I'll just give you a quick run through of who she is and why she even matters at all. She really doesn't, but still. The fact is, she's an American conservative commentator, an author and political activist, and podcast host. She became really famous when she supported Donald Trump, and she got involved with MAGA, and she put on the red hat. And since then, she's basically been a provocateur. She's somebody who gets on social media, she gets on her shows, she gets on whoever will give her a mic, she will get on their show, and she will share her ideas. And often they are completely idiotic, nonsensical, and now anti-Semitic. That's who Candace Owens is. So she gets on a Twitter space, right? Now, if you don't know Twitter, good for you. But she gets on a Twitter space and she streams the video because she's so confident. She just wants to show up in all her beauty and her glory, and basically spews anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and blood libels about the Jewish people for an hour straight. And if I tell you that this was the most incoherent and bizarre psychotic rant I've heard about Jews in a long time, and I heard Kanye West lose his mind on the Alex Jones show, I would not be exaggerating. I would not be exaggerating. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this.
Do you think it's normal, by the way, that basically every person who speaks about Israel has to basically say a statement that's like, I don't want to get killed? like literally, you start speaking about it, people are like, Candace, beef up your security. That's not normal. Excuse my language, but that is not normal. Okay, it's not normal that people have to think about their security because, and by the way, it's not normal that then the way that you get comfortable with it is you're like, well, they shot JFK in an open car, so there's not, he's a sitting president. Obviously my security doesn't really matter. If they want me, they're going to get me. That's not a normal thought process to have. We don't have that about any other country in the world except for the one that, took over ours. And that's the truth, okay? We are an occupied nation. And if it's going to take women having to speak up and say that to make permission, to give permission to men to do the same, then I'm happy to be the first person, okay? I just want to be clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists. 1,000% blame the Zionists. Let that be my parting word.
So in this rant, she goes ahead and she literally just starts expressing every last blood libel and conspiracy theory about the Jewish people ever. Okay, listen to this. She claimed that Israel is involved in protecting pedophiles. That's what she said. You don't have to watch it. Trust me, I watched it for you. And that we have undue influence on American politics. And we should. And every single time we do, it's better for the world and better for Israel. So I'm all for it. Just because something is right doesn't mean that it needs to be questioned. Just because something is working doesn't mean that there's something nefarious about it. Everything the Jews do, we do well. And we should be involved in politics. And we should have a say in what's going on in the countries that we live in, because that's when they thrive. That's when they thrive. And let's not talk about our cousins and what happens in their countries when they have too much influence. Look what's going on in America now. She said that Zionists are not original Jews and we're actually demon worshipers. We're demon worshipers. By the way, I'm a Zionist. So Candace Owens, am I a demon worshiper? Because I want to live safely here in the land of Israel with my children? Would you like me to go back to Poland, where my grandmother was chased out, the only one in her family to survive the Holocaust? Would that work for you? That's the vibe I'm getting. The vibe I'm getting is that you are attacking me personally. So let's just break it down, because I have a problem with that. I do. And you should be called out for your disgusting behavior. What else did you say? Let's see, Candace. You endorsed the historically anti-Semitic blood libel that Jews drink the blood of Christian babies. Even to say that out loud, even to throw that in casually, even just to bring it up shows how sick you actually are. So let's see. You labeled the Jews as satanic, which it's ridiculous. We're not satanic. I don't know what else to say. You shared very enthusiastically that Kanye West was on your show. Remember that? That was 2 weeks ago. And these news cycles, things move so quickly. But Candace Owens hosted Kanye West on her podcast, and they engaged in a fascinating discussion demonizing Jews. So if you want to hear Candace Owens and her BFF Kanye West talk about Jews and the Satans that they are, well, tune into that captivating and enchanting episode of whatever Candace Owens podcast is called. So she's busy demonizing Israel, spreading conspiracy theories about Zionism. Let me tell you something. Zionism means that Israel has the right to exist. That's it. If you think Israel has the right to exist, and considering that you came to Israel when we moved the embassy, remember? You came to Israel. You're always so proud of that. I came to Israel and I moved the embassy with David Friedman. So that must mean that you believe Israel has the right to exist. Do you not? Well, if you do, Candace Owens, you're a Zionist. And if you don't, Candace Owens, you're an anti-Semite. It's as easy as that. You argued that the Nazis were the good guys during World War II. That's always a good look, defending Nazis and Hitler. You claimed that the Nazi brown shirts were merely targeting communist literature and not actually engaged in anti-Semitic activities. The Nazis killed all my great-grandparents, every last one of them, and my great-uncles and their cousins and all of their extended family. And all of it was witnessed by 6 million Jews who experienced the same. So now you're a Holocaust denier. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. I knew about the Holocaust before I ever read a book because my grandmother told me what she experienced. How could you deny something that happened to someone? I mean, I heard it firsthand. So you're telling me that the Nazis were good or that Hitler maybe didn't have such a bad agenda? Like, what are you actually even saying? You question the Jewish identity of those who support Israel, suggesting we are not, or they are not real Jews. You know, to start with that, who's a real Jew, who's not a real Jew, that is not for you to judge unless you come here and you spend time in Israel and you look around and you see how diverse and multi-ethnic our country is. It is not for you to decide who is a Jew, who is not a Jew. It's not for you to talk about the Jews. As a matter of fact, like a wise man once said, keep the Jewish people out your mouth. Like, just don't talk about them. Why are you talking about them? You have nothing else to talk about. You ran out of things to talk about, Candace Owens. You could do whatever you want. No one's going to be able to stop you. And the worst part is that you're going to gaslight your way through all of it, which is just a wonderful art that you've literally mastered. I'm like, every single time she tweets, I'm like, Candace Owens is gaslighting us all again. Not me. I don't fall for that nonsense at all. But anyone who thinks for 1 second that Candace Owens is a victim, anyone thinks that Candace Owens deserves to be heard for free speech. It's all about free speech. Candace Owens is very deliberately attacking the Jewish people on a very large platform. She reaches tens of millions of people with every tweet, with every podcast episode, with every stupid thing that comes out of her mouth. And she knows good and well what she's doing. And if she doesn't know what she's doing, someone should take her off the air. And I know she's going to say, oh, you guys want to cancel me. We don't want to cancel you. You canceled yourself. You have a big mouth. You said ugly things about the Jewish people, and you're going to go down in history as an anti-Semite. And there's no taking it back. If it walks like an anti-Semite and it talks like an anti-Semite, it is an anti-Semite. And Candace Owens, you are an anti-Semite. And the worst part is that I had you on my show. I did. I extended myself. I was extremely nice to you. Yet your heart was not open. You didn't want to hear. You didn't want to understand. And the proof is in the pudding. Because now, here we are. You just completely sailed over the anti-Semitic cliff. And it's a shame because I personally thought you were pretty awesome and I stuck my neck out for you. Despite the fact that there were people in the Jewish world who called me out for hosting you. And they were right. They were right. I should have never given you the time of day. I should never have given you the time of day. That said, the people who called me out, just because you're right doesn't mean you have the right. But I put you on my show and I gave you time to express maybe a little sympathy or empathy or compassion for me in my homeland here in the land of Israel. And you didn't. And you spoke about yourself the entire time. And I was just like, you are a schlechte. Yeah, my grandmother, that's what she would call you, a schlechte. Yeah, and that's being generous and kind. What you really are is a pig. That's what you are. Because just like a pig, and yes, I thought this through, you feed yourself garbage and you roll around in the mud with other Jew-hating slobs. And you carry infectious diseases. One specifically called anti-Semitism. It's a mind virus. It's a mind virus and you have been infected. So maybe there's hope for you. Maybe you can call Ben Shapiro. Honestly, Ben Shapiro doesn't even want to deal with you. Ben Shapiro's like, I want nothing to do with Candace Owens. I don't know her. She never worked here. Don't call me. Ben Shapiro can debate a brick wall into submission, and even he won't touch you with a 10-foot pole. Okay, when you lose Ben Shapiro, you could just pack up and call it a day. But no, you keep spewing your nonsense to all your sycophant listeners and all your white housewives who love Candace Owens. You're so right. You're so right. You're not right. You're wrong. You're not left. You're not right. You're just wrong. And sometimes you have to look in the mirror. You have to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask yourself, is this my legacy? Speaking up against the Jewish people, peddling in conspiracy theories, throwing things out there, spending time with just disgusting human beings who have one agenda, and that is to smear the Jewish people. We are none of those things. We are good. The Jewish people are good. Sure, there's exceptions. There's always exceptions. But in the big picture, when you zoom out for 1 second, tell me, Candace Owens, that Israel doesn't have a right to exist. Tell me that you are the victim, but my children who have to run into a bomb shelter every time there's a siren, they're not victims. You're the victim. And that the children who died in Majul Shams because Hezbollah is shooting rockets up north, that they're not the victims. You're the victim. And that the 6 hostages that we're burying here in Israel this week, who were killed and discarded in a tunnel after being alive for 3 months in Israel, 3 months in Gaza. After being alive for 3 months in Gaza, they're not the victims. You're the victim, Candace Owens. And to all the Jew haters out there, I have one message. We are not ashamed of our success. We are not ashamed of our wisdom. We're not ashamed of our history. We're not ashamed of our beliefs. We're not ashamed of our community. We're not ashamed of our books. We're not ashamed of our country. We're not ashamed of our tradition or our values. We are not ashamed of our heritage. We're not ashamed of our identity. No amount of podcasts, tweets, or Twitter spaces will ever change that. You're wasting your time. Move on to someone else. I want to share a vlog entry from my friend Forrest Rain. She posted this on Facebook about what it feels like to be an Israeli, to wake up in a country where every single day Jews are being killed and tormented for being Jews in Israel. I mean, it's ludicrous if you think about it. This is what she writes. The soldiers of Israel are risking their lives to rescue the hostages Gazans took from us, the living and the dead. The mothers and fathers of Israel don't sleep at night because they know that their sons are walking through the valley of the shadow of death. We all know that this is necessary to do so for our future, for our family, for our friends and our neighbors, ripped from us. And when it's not possible to rescue the living, they retrieve the dead. It is crucial to bring them home to proper burial and hopefully some peace for their families. But knowing that this is necessary doesn't make it any less frightening. Today we woke up to the news that 6 of our own were retrieved. People who were taken hostage alive and killed in Gaza. How would you feel if that was your grandfather or your son? Look at their faces. Read their names. Imagine they were your parents, your husband. Chaim Perry, Yoram Metzger, Avraham Munder, Yagev Buchstab, Nadav Popwell, and Alex Danzig. When Yagev's wife Rimon was liberated from captivity in Gaza, her video went viral because she made it very clear with her body language that she would not play the game Hamas wanted her to play. She would not let them touch her to say goodbye, and she would not smile and wave. How tough will she be now, knowing that she survived and her husband didn't? When I was in Nirim and heard stories of the invasion, we stood outside Nadav Popwell's mother's home. We heard the story of his brother who was shot and his elderly mother who was taken hostage. The grapefruit on her tree were so ripe they were falling off the tree. Her neighbor asked us to pick as much as we could because there's nothing as depressing as a tree untouched and rotting fruit. What will life be like for her now, knowing she survived while one of her boys was murdered outside of her home and another in Gaza? Each of these men are a world lost, leaving broken hearts behind. May God avenge their blood. This week's episode of the Weekly Squeeze has been brought to you by Daily Giving. You guys know I love Daily Giving. Why? Because I just need $1 from you every single day, right? $1 a day? Sounds too good to be true? Well, it's not. Daily Giving is a tzedakah fund for the Jewish people. That's basically what it is. You sign up at dailygiving.org and they take care of everything else. They donate your $1 every single day, except on Shabbat and Chagim. Then they just double up on another day, but you get your $7 a week donated to all the amazing charities that you love. You can feed hungry families, support organizations, and all kinds of incredible tzedakah funds that you really want to give to. You want to give to them, and this way you'll be able to, and you don't have to do anything. You just do it once a year, and you're good. You're good to go. Your dollar will go to Amudim, Bonei Olam, Camp Hask, Ezer Mitzion, Meir Panim, I was there, amazing, NCSY, Pantry Packers, RCCS, Shalom Task Force, United Hatzalah, and so many more, including the IDF. So if you're torn where you should give your charity, or if you just want to diversify your charity portfolio, or if you've never given charity before and you're just like, this is a great way to start. I can just give to everyone. Sign up today at www.dailygiving.org. It takes less than a minute. You will feel great. They will send you an email every single day where your dollar went, and you'll be making a difference $1 at a time. www.dailygiving.org. The link is in my show notes. Click on that link and sign up today. This has been a very hard week for Israelis, considering all the losses we've suffered in just the last 72 hours alone. 21-year-old Shachar Ben-Nun of the Paratroopers Brigade's Reconnaissance Unit from Petach Tikva was killed in action in Gaza. May his memory be a blessing. 45-year-old Chief Warrant Officer Mahmoud Amaria, a tracker of the 300th Baram Regional Brigade from Ibti, was killed this morning in northern Israel. Yes, Hezbollah are killing Arabs. Yeah, tweet that. Baruch Daina Emet, Gidon Perry, a father, a husband who was murdered by a terrorist savage with a hammer near Kidumim. If you didn't hear about that, ask yourself why. It's most likely because it wasn't in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, or because it happened in Israel and it didn't involve an Arab. No Jews, no news. But at the end of the day, a father was brutally murdered by an employee while he was working at his job for his family, and the world just walked on by. Why? Because it's complicated. It's complicated. Judea and Samaria are complicated, and therefore, we're just going to pretend it didn't happen. But it happened, and the world must know. 34-year-old Sergeant Major Mordechai Yosef Ben Shoam, a truck driver with Jerusalem Brigade's 8119 Battalion from Geva Binyamin, was killed in action in Gaza as well. May his memory be a blessing. 34-year-old Major Yotam Yitzchak Peled, a logistics officer with the Jerusalem Brigade's 8119 Battalion from Rosh Ha'ayin, was also killed in action in Gaza. All right, if this episode made you a little down because we've just been going downtown on all the negativity around the world, Candace, but you know what? Just let it go. Because at the end of the day, we have so much to be grateful for. First of all, this podcast that's now on YouTube, that's something to be grateful for. I mean, how awesome is this space? Like, check it out. You guys are here in my studio enjoying the Weekly Squeeze as it's unfolding live. That's pretty cool, right? So that's something to be happy about. And just stay positive, Be happy, do good things for others. That's a great way to keep your spirits high. And subscribe to this show, because I'll tell you and I'll share with you all the great things you need to know about the land of Israel. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts. You can follow me on Spotify. You can send me an email, chanalesings@gmail.com, for advertisement and sponsorship opportunities. Follow me on Instagram at My Beautiful Land of Israel, at Chanale Music. And be sure to drop a link to the show in a family chat so everyone can talk about how bright yellow my jacket is. So there you have it, episode 209 of the Weekly Squeeze podcast, brought to you by me, your lovely and talented host, Chanale Music. Subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave me a comment, a 5-star rating perhaps, and join our WhatsApp chat. The link is in the show notes. Stay safe wherever you are. Oh, and become a one Jewish state delegate. You will not regret it. Stay safe wherever you are, and I will see you next week.